Good afternoon, trustees, staff, and members of the public who are joining our May 5th Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meeting. There are regrets from trustee Michael Chen. This meeting is called to order. The committee's chair is not present today. As such, trustee Mahmood has agreed to serve as chair for the remainder of the meeting. Without objection, trustee Mahmood shall serve as chair for the remainder of the meeting. Is there any objection? Seeing none, since there is no objection, trustee Mahmood shall serve as chair for the remainder of the meeting. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you very much for allowing me to take on this seat once again. The first item on the agenda is approval of agenda. Actually, no, before that, land acknowledgement. Can I ask Trustee Liang to do the land acknowledgement? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the land of two treaties. These treaties has been signed with Mississauga of Credit First Nation and the First Nation of Violin treaties, who are the Mississauga of Elderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Scoggle Island, and Chief Marshal of Beausoleil, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent right as a sovereign nations. We will respect their relationship with this land and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with this First Nation. And we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Liang. Next is approval of agenda. Without objection, the agenda as presented shall be adopted. Is there any objection? Trustee Kowalski, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move to amend the agenda to include a motion following item 8 regarding board policies related to compliance with the Education Act.
Thank you. So we would like to add, it's a move to amend the agenda by adding a new item at item number 9, which is an information item. So which shall be consideration of the following motion, that staff provides an information report to the committee on or before October 1st, 2026, outlining any board policies that may require amendment in light of changes to the section 170.0.2 of the Education Act introduced through Bill 33. Is there any debate? None. The question is on the adoption of the motion to amend the agenda by adding a new number 9, which shall be the consideration of the following motion, that staff provide an information report to the committee on or before October 1st.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't see yours. Okay. Trustee Sinclair, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't understand why Trustee Belaski wants to change. Could you explain to me exactly what he's wanting to do with item number 8?
Sure. So Trustee Kowalski is requesting to amend the agenda for tonight. You know, item 9 is an information item, and he would like to add within 9 a request to add a report back to committee, our compliance status by October 1st on Bill 33. In a nutshell, that's what it is.
Well, Trustee Belaski says item number 8, not number 9.
It's after 8, before 9. So after 8, item 8 is, if you see this on the agenda, is policies, and so we'll review all the policies. And then on 9, which is information item, so this will be part of the information item.
Okay, thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other trustees? Nothing, thank you. So the question is on the adoption of the motion to amend the agenda by adding a new number 9, which shall be in consideration of the following motion, that staff provide an information report to the committee on or before October 1st, 2026, outlining any board policies that may require amendment in light of changes to section 170.0.2 of the Education Act introduced through Bill 33. All those in favor say yes. Or
Yes.
all those who are not say no. So if you can unmute your microphone and then let me know, the committee members. So I'm requesting that all those members who are in favor to include this additional item on the information section, say yes. Thank you. So can I have,
Yes,
thank you,
thank you.
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you,
Pamela McCarthy, yes.
thank you, Trustee McCarthy.
No.
Trustee Sinclair, no. There's nobody left. So the ayes have it, the motion is adopted, the agenda is amended to add a new number 9 when we get to that point. Thank you. So without objection, the agenda as amended shall be adopted. Is there any objection to the agenda at this time? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted with the amended motion added. Thank you. At this time, the chair would like to ask any trustees who has direct personal interest or direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matters being discussed by the board during the meeting to state the conflict and their nature thereof. Seeing none, now we move on to item number 9, approval of the agenda from the previous meeting. At this time, the chair would like to ask that the minutes of the April 7th, 2026 Policy and Bylaw Committee meeting, which have been distributed to all trustees, any trustee who have any questions on these minutes? As there are no corrections or any comments to the minutes are approved as presented. Director's remarks. The chair recognizes the director to provide their remarks. Mr. Director, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. We have 3 policies for consideration before you today. Policy 105, communications. Policy 152, severe weather, although we're not hoping to have any in the forthcoming days or weeks of the school year. And policy 445, school names and new school names and renaming schools. We look forward to the discussion, Mr. Chair, and welcome the feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Director. We are looking forward to that discussion. The next on the agenda is the delegation. So tonight there is one community delegation before the committee. The chair would like to take this time to remind the committee and our guests of our rules regarding the delegations as follows. All delegates and committee members shall use respectful language and shall not disturb the decorum of the meeting. With respect to the decorum of this meeting, the chair would like to make clear to all members, delegates, and attendees that some of the following items would be considered by the chair to disturb the decorum of the meeting. If any of the following occur tonight, the members will be removed and we will move on. Members, delegates, and attendees may not attack the motives of others. One may speak about why their position should be followed, but one may not attack the motives of others. One may not use foul language. One may not use hateful language that is meant to belittle, demean, or in any other way put down others. If one crosses the line, the chair will have them removed from the meeting. The maximum amount of time for the delegation is 10 minutes. A clock providing for the time as it elapses shall be on the screen. Members shall not speak after their time has elapsed. Trustees and student trustees in attendance at the meeting may ask questions of clarification following the delegation's presentation. Debate or questions that are not clarifying in nature are out of order and shall not be permitted. When the delegation answers a question of clarification, they shall only answer the question that was asked. Speaking time for questions from each trustee and student trustee shall not exceed 3 minutes. Members shall not speak after their time elapses. This means that if you are seeking to ask a question of clarification, you only have one opportunity to do so, and please ensure that your question is concise enough to allow the delegation to respond. As it is the custom of the board, the time includes both the question and the answer from the delegation. And delegations are reminded that the content of this meeting, including their delegation, is part of the public record and will be accessible to the public and is part of the public recording of this meeting. This evening, the delegation before the committee is from Bruce Yu. Bruce, the chair recognizes you to provide your delegation.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, good afternoon, trustees and staff. It's a pleasure to be here today. I think, give or take 4 years after I serve as a student trustee, I will say you have a much better hybrid meeting format set up. I remember needing to speak into a laptop and have a headset. But I wanted to come here today to discuss an issue that's very dear and near to me, that being the role of student trustees, and more importantly, the eligibility of a student trustee to seek re-election. I want to start by noting that my views are mine alone and don't represent past or present employers. And of course, while I will be commenting on the law, my comments are obviously not legal advice. You have a lawyer for that. I was, to be frank, quite alarmed to hear the discussion at the last PBSC meeting amongst the trustees that they wished to limit the ability of a student trustee to seek re-election. I think it is fundamentally bad policy. I will expand on that piece momentarily. But first, I wanted to discuss maybe a more pressing matter, that being that the amendment they suggested, in my view, is not legal. At the last meeting, the board's general counsel pointed out the challenges of the amendment that was proposed and noted the importance of ensuring compliance with the Education Act. Further to that, I had the opportunity to write to the general counsel outlining my concerns, and I wanted to also share them briefly with trustees today on the record. So the first piece is that Ontario regulation Ontario Regulation 707, which governs the election of student trustees, is made under the Education Act, and Section 5 specifies the qualifications of a student trustee, namely they have to be in the senior division, so grades 11 or 12. They're a full-time pupil with an exception for special education students, and they're not in a penal or a correctional institution. So it's really just these three qualifications. There's nothing else the regulation specifies, and there's nothing in the regulation to suggest that the eligibility criteria can be changed through a policy of the board. And in fact, there was litigation in this matter. Back in 2022, the Divisional Court of the Ontario Superior Court of Justice ruled in Kandaharian. It was a case between a student trustee applicant and the York Catholic District School Board. And in that case, the Divisional Court found that the York Catholic District School Board's decision to limit student trustee candidates to only Roman Catholic students would be ultra vires the authority of the YRDSB as a school board. So for that panel, Justice's letter articulated, quote, "What this makes clear is that all students fully committed to being students qualify to apply to be student trustees," unquote. I don't think the judge could have been more crystal clear. A school board cannot impose another qualification on the eligibility of a student to be a student trustee if they fulfill the requirements I mentioned earlier. For example, they're in grade 11 or grade 12, they're a full-time pupil, et cetera, et cetera. So in that vein, restricting a student trustee who was already elected once from being re-elected would, in my view, be contrary to OREG 707 and the established case law in Kandaharian. All that being said, I still think there are merits to having a discussion about a student trustee being able to seek re-election. The returning trustees in this committee may recall the extensive discussions we had on this topic back in 2022. I'll rehash them briefly. Student trustees who serve a second term bring a wealth of experience to the board. They become more familiar with the board's procedures and are ultimately more effective representatives. I would encourage trustees to think about their first year, their first month, their first weeks on the board. I think I would speculate there was a significant transition period where it took time to properly understand the scope of the role of staff, board procedures, parliamentary procedure, the policy development process, and all the complexities that come with managing Ontario's third largest school board, which I think has a budget of roughly $1.5 billion. And then U.S. trustees, of course, still had 3 more years to get to know the role and to implement policy. I would contrast that with the role of a student trustee, where you only have a single year to do the transition, to understand the role, and ultimately to carry out the mandate that the electors gave you. So again, I assume that trustees come into this role with goals and aspirations, and I think it would be quite challenging to get anything done within a single year. The trustees are lucky to have 4, yet that is the restriction that student trustees are currently facing. And as a matter of fact, since my term as a student trustee ended back in July of 2022, we have had 2 student trustees who have successfully sought re-election. And the bottom line, I would encourage any trustees who are supportive of the restriction on a second term, or trustees in general, to speak with student trustees Lai or student trustees Lin. I'm confident they'll speak to the merits of longer term, and I think also speak to the mentorship that student trustee Lai was able to provide to his colleague, and also student trustee Lin and the mentorship that he'll be able to provide to his incoming colleague. I will leave it there, and I'm happy to take any questions from trustees or student trustees.
Thank you, Bruce, for saving us 5 minutes. That was quite concise in there. My trustee colleagues are student trustees. Any questions of clarification on this presentation? Trustee Kolosky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the delegate be able to clarify what sort of consequences the board might face if such a restriction on student trustee re-election would be imposed?
Bruce, if you have that information with you.
Certainly, and through the chair, to your comment about the 5 minutes, I'm used to 5 minutes as the speaking limit, so I do my best to keep to that. But yeah, through the chair to trustee Kolosowski, I'm happy to speculate with the caveat it's not legal advice. I can share that the board in the past has been in a position where it was not compliant with OREG 707, and staff are aware of that. I'm not going to comment on that beyond highlighting that there was one point where the board was not in compliance with regulation. I think in the present case, if the board were to pursue such an amendment that was described at PBSC, an affected party withstanding, because this is ultimately a decision made by an administrative decision maker, they could pursue judicial review with the divisional court. I think they would have good chances of getting an injunction granted, and ultimately I think they would be successful on the merits of their case. That being said, I think having a court strike down a decision of a school board is not a good look, as we saw with the YRDSB, and ultimately it's not the right thing to do, and it's not a good use of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Any follow-up? I can allow it now because we have time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the delegate for the answer. I just wanted to clarify that I heard correctly. What was the court case where this was that was cited?
Through the chair, it was litigation guardian of Kandarian and York Catholic District School Board. That was a decision of the Divisional Court of the Ontario Superior Court of Justice.
Thank you, Bruce. Any other trustees? Anybody online have any question?
Thank you, Chair. I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So hearing none, since there's no objection, so without objection, the delegation shall be received for information. And is there any objection on this from any trustees? Seeing none, since there's no objection, the delegation is received for the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, for tonight. Thank you. Right, moving along to our policies for second review. That's agenda item number 8. The first policy on that is on pages 9 to 12 of agenda item policy 105. The chair recognizes trustee services and policy officer Alden Torres to share the policy for second review. Alden, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, folks. Today we have Executive Officer Corporate Communications Licinio Maguilo to share updates to Policy 105 Communications. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is now due for second review. This policy addresses the board's commitment to maintaining open lines of communication with internal and external individuals and groups. The policy outlines the process. The policy was developed in accordance with the Education Act, where a review of the applicable legislation and regulation was completed, and we found no new updates during this second review. And if approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be forwarded to the June 16th, 2026 board meeting for final approval. And with that, I'll pass it over to Licinio for any additional comments.
Thank you, Alden, and through you, Mr. Chair, I'll be brief, seeing as we are in second review. We did receive some operational feedback and suggestions and questions from EAC. However, that feedback and those suggestions were very operational in nature and not specific to the policy or to the philosophical position of the Board on Communications. As such, we're not recommending any changes to the policy at this time. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you for providing this information on Policy 105. Members, the Chair would like to remind everyone that questions must be germane to the policy. Do you have any questions on this policy, Policy 105? Seeing none, without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance with the Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Working Document Policy 105, communications will be forwarded to the June 16, 2026 board meeting for final approval. Any objection with that? Without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you very much, staff, for presenting that. Moving along, the next on the agenda is Policy 152. Trustees, pages 13 to 34 of the agenda item have this policy detail. Policy 152.0, severe weather. The Chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Alden Torres to share the next policy for second review. Alden, please.
Thank you, Chair. Also with us today, we have Associate Director of Education, Schools and Programs, Neil Gunnathan, and Associate Director of Education, Schools and Program, Laura Listi, to share updates to Policy 152, Severe Weather. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is also now due for second review. This policy here aims to ensure the safety and well-being of students, staff, and the broader school community during severe or extreme weather conditions. It outlines how decisions are made regarding school operations, including transportation cancellations or full closures, based on safety risks such as hazardous conditions or disruptions to essential services. While the board strives to keep schools open where possible, it provides clear guidance for responding to emergencies and managing extreme weather to maintain safe and supportive learning and working environments. This policy has been revised to reflect the revised to reflect changes to the responsibility section, alongside with the restructuring of the region into two distinct transportation service areas, the Georgina service area and the South service area. A review of the Education Act was also conducted as well during this review cycle. If approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be also forwarded to the June 16th, 2026 board meeting for final approval. And with that, I'll pass it over to Neil and Laura for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I would like to make trustees aware, if you look on page 18 of your package, you can see the updates where we have included our Georgina pilot into the policy. So you can see in section 4.4, the transportation service areas are defined, and you can also see in section 4.2, sorry, I'm just looking at the revised numbers here, that we make reference to requiring the cancellation of school buses and taxis in one or both transportation service areas. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Trustees, Trustee Butterworth, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, and thank you for the report. I just want some clarification on the 4.4 section, transportation service areas, where we're talking about our zones, so the Georgina service area and then the south service area. And so on, we all understand it is a pilot. There's no reference in here that it is a pilot. Does that create any difficulty with, changing the policy if we do before our time, like before necessary, if we decide that we are going to expand our transportation zones, or is the language fine as it is? I just want to make sure in case we make those changes down the road. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, by putting this in policy, this practice will become part of our policy, and we will move from a pilot to having these zones as part of our policy. If we wanted to revise that, we would have to come back and revise it through policy. I will defer to the Chair and the parliamentarian to confirm that I'm correct.
Yes, that's correct, right? If it's adopted in the policy, it will become part of policy and we need to remove it. So that's why there's no mention of pilot in here as per se. Thank you.
Sorry, I want to make sure. So then if we decide, let's say next year, there's lots of, we realize that we need more zones, then you are going to bring that back to us, or would that be something trustees then would have to bring back? How would we go back to make changes? I just want to make sure that it's very clear that we understand how that would go. Thank you.
I think Mr. Director would like to weigh in that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to Trustee Butterworth. Very much like we did this year. We would just go through a process very similar to we did this year. We would more than likely come to you with a pilot proposal through the leadership of Associate Director Maharaj and through the leadership of Associate Director Listi, and then work through the pilot process very similar to what we did this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Any other trustees have any questions? If not, I have one quick question of my own. So I understand that we operate jointly with the Catholic partnerships as well. So I'm assuming that they would have had adopted the same policy at the same time, right? So that we are not at our own.
We work very closely with the Transportation Consortium and the Catholic Board, but I'll defer to Associate Director Maharaj, who works on transportation services. Are the Catholic Board doing a similar pilot with Georgina?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the pilot is being run through Student Transportation Services, not through either board. So they are also in the pilot mode because, as you know, this year we didn't get to actually operationalize the zones. So until we actually have one or two opportunities to operationalize the cancellation of the zones, we won't know what needs to be twigged, if we have the right zone defined, et cetera, et cetera. So for 26-27, that's why we're recommending that it continue in sort of a pilot phase to allow us to make any modifications or adjustments that we would need to. And then we would come back to the boards with a recommendation to either ensconce it, expand it, or to cancel it.
Thank you, Eri Maharaj, for adding that information there. Any other questions from any trustees? Okay, without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted that it, in accordance with the Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedure and Supporting Documents, Working Document Policy 152, severe weather will be forwarded to the June 16, 2026 Board meeting for final approval. Any objection? Without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. The next on agenda is Policy 445, school names, new school, and school renaming is on the agenda item, or agenda pages 35 to 45. Chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Alden Torres to share the next policy for second review.
Thank you, Chair. And finally, we have again Associate Directors of Education, Neil Gunnathan and Laura Leasty, to share updates to Policy 445, school names, new schools, and school names, renaming of schools. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is again also due for second review. This policy reflects the board's commitment to enhance collaborative relationships within our school communities. This policy was also developed in accordance with the Education Act and Supporting Children and Students Act, where a compliance review of the applicable legislation was completed. The document has been updated to improve clarity and alignment with current requirements. Key revisions include clearer guidance on the consultation process for the naming and renaming of schools, as well as a more detailed criteria for determining when a school should be renamed. Additionally, the document also now incorporates the requirements set out in Bill 33, ensuring compliance with recent legislative changes. If approved by the committee this evening, this policy will be forwarded to the June 16th, 2026 board meeting for final approval. And with that, I'll pass it over to Neil and Laura for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I am bringing forward Policy 445, school naming, for second review. As the policy officer referenced, the updated legislation, Bill 33, has been incorporated. So you will see that the Minister of Education has final approval over school names. As referenced, additional feedback was received. While some of the feedback was operational in nature, I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that policy review incorporates a review of practices. Feedback was received about using more inclusive terminology in policy, and that has been adopted. A need for transparency was requested, and I would like to acknowledge that the policy states that the pre-approved list of possible school names requires approval by the Finance and Property Standing Committee. There was a request that individuals and groups have meaningful opportunities to provide policy feedback and input, and the process of having a first and second reading and sharing information about feedback received, as we are doing here this evening, supports the transparent incorporation of feedback and community input. Additionally, our PIAC, EAC, and SEAC committees have an important role to play in reviewing policies out for comment. Input was received through these channels that a community consultation process is valued, and the procedure should allow for opportunity to receive information, have questions answered, and provide input. Section 3.2 of the policy before you outlines the responsibility of the trustee to lead the process to name a school and identifies the trustee's responsibility to seek input from the local or the YRDSB communities, as well as bringing to the Finance and Property Standing Committee the proposed names for schools, as well as the community engagement strategy. Finally, concerns were raised that individuals working on all aspects of school naming should have training on recognizing bias and discrimination. All senior team staff and trustees are required to undergo such training, including understanding the Ontario Human Rights Code on a regular basis. Mr. Chair, I appreciate the opportunity to share with the committee some of the input was received and the work that occurred to ensure that the policy 445 before you this evening is robust and provides accountability to our communities through the transparent responsibility of both staff and trustees. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Such a detailed information, and making sure that we have incorporated all the feedback we have received from the different channels. We're looking forward to. I think this is the most information or the feedback I've ever seen on any policy in my few years I've been here. Right, so this is very good that there was a policy out there. People were interested, and the different groups they weighed in, and we have incorporated that. Definitely shows that the process is working, where people wanted to provide a feedback, and we have incorporated that. Trustees, at this time, any questions on this policy? Trustee Cohen, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd appreciate if I could make some comments regarding policy 445. I would also like to move a motion. That's
Sure.
okay.
Yep,
Is that okay?
please.
Thank you. That's my time limit? Yes. Okay. Better watch. Although we previously had a discussion sharing our concerns, I have noticed that there have been no changes regarding, or significant changes regarding naming schools after historical figures or people that we consider to be heroes. These are the reasons that I do not believe that it is beneficial to name schools after people. 1, reduce financial waste. We've had to rename schools in the past due to new information that surfaced. Renaming schools involves signage, branding, legal updates, and community consultation, costs that diverts funds from student learning. 2, minimize community division. We have recently experienced that selecting one individual to name a school after often excludes others and can create tension among cultural, ethnic, or local groups. Neutral names, geographic, value-based, or nature-inspired names are less likely to alienate or marginalize any group, ensure long-term stability. Non-person names are far less likely to require change, giving schools a consistent identity over decades. Reflect evolving social values. Societal standards change. Avoiding individuals prevents schools from being tied to outdated or contested legacies. Encourage broader community ownership. Names based on shared values like equity, innovation, harmony, foster a sense of collective belonging. And learn from recent experience. Our board's recent need to rename schools demonstrates that this is not a theoretical issue. It's a reoccurring problem, not only at YRDSB, but at many other school boards. For instance, Hamilton School Board has already eliminated naming schools after historical figures or heroes. Historical figures or historical figures or most recent heroes are constantly reassessed. Today's hero can become tomorrow's controversy. I am aware that we have a school naming committee, and I'm sure that they Google every name that we are considering to be sure they have no history that would be inflammatory. But people are human. Many respected men and women make serious errors in judgment or behavior later in life. There's no guarantee that someone who is a hero today will be seen as a hero tomorrow. Lastly, I totally support honoring heroes. I am certain that our outstanding principals incorporate the celebration of heroes into their curriculum and special assemblies on a regular basis, like the Terry Fox Run. I simply feel that naming a school after a hero is not to our advantage for the reasons that I have stated. Thank you. And I have a motion as well.
Okay. Trustee Cohen, at this time, motion is not in order. The chair shall recognize you soon when it is in order for you to make a motion. So
Should I make it now?
You have to wait till I...
Wait.
Yes. Because you have to wait till all the questions are done.
Oh, great.
And when I
understand.
come up
Yes.
asking any objection on that, that's when your motion has
Perfect.
to-
Thank you for
Thank you.
explaining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other trustees have any other question at this time for clarification, comments? Seeing none, the chair recognizes that Trustee Cohen, you have a motion. Would you like to present that motion now?
Thank you, Chair. I move that the committee request changes to be made regarding not naming schools after people and schedule the policy for ongoing second review. That's it. Thank you.
So it is moved that the committee request changes be made regarding not naming schools after people and schedule the policy for ongoing second review, which means that we are not approving at this time. Any debate at this time? Do you want to say anything further to that, Trustee Cohen?
Me personally?
Yeah, if you want to.
Thanks, Chair. No, I think that I've gone into a fair bit of detail.
Thank you. No, we don't need a second for the committees. Trustee Butterworth.
Sorry, so may I ask a question based on her motion that she's putting forward?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so.
You may not get the answer, but you can ask the
Yes,
question.
of course, absolutely. I don't always expect that. But anyway, so I just wanted to, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, absolutely. The only thing I'm thinking of, I look at some of the schools that have been named after people, and you cited Terry Fox, and I know Terry Fox Elementary School. I'm thinking we have Emily Carr. I was just trying to kind of think of some names. I know some have been controversial, and I understand that. But I also understand how these names also, what they bring to the school themselves, to the culture and so on. So I hate to take it right out when we could be missing someone who's important. You know, at the same time, I get it, when we've named schools in the past, and then they, like you say, they were here at one time and not so much anymore. I just don't want to say we're shutting the door on that. So I'm not sort of taking a stand in any of this. I just want to make sure we're really thinking about this, that we're not excluding someone or a name because of our policy. So I just want to put that out there. So I guess I'm not really asking a question to be answered. I'm just sort of making a statement about that. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Trustee Butterworth. I was waiting for that question, but you made good comments, right? Thank you. Any other trustees at this time? Trustee Kowalski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Trustee Cohen, for the motion. So, in theory, naming schools after people is a meaningful way to recognize contributions and give students positive role models, and I think that's a good thing. But in practice, the process has become a significant distraction. When we debate which individuals to name or rename schools after, we end up spending a lot of time on discussions that pull us away from what we're really here to do, which is to support students. So these debates often can become complicated, sometimes even divisive, and they take time and energy that could be spent better on supporting students and staff. We've already seen how this creates a ripple effect. Many school boards recently renamed schools that were named after Sir John A. Macdonald because of his role in the residential school system, and it set a precedent. Now they're realizing that they have to rename the schools named after Pierre Elliott Trudeau, given his involvement with the residential school system. So it's creating a lot of division in different communities. And there's also a cost piece that we can't ignore. Whether it's renaming a school or even just going through the process, it adds up. Consultations, new signage, updated materials, updated even online materials on our websites. So that's real money that should be spent on things like hiring more staff, special education, mental health support, student resources. So for me, it's not about opposing the idea. In theory, I think it's a good idea to name schools after people, but in practice, both at school boards and municipalities and other levels of government, we've just realized that it's become a big distraction that takes us away from focusing on what matters. So my question would be my question is what are some other alternatives that we can name schools after instead of people?
Thank you. To staff or Mr. Director, if you want to weigh in on that. So what are other, I don't have the list of that, but we do have an exhaustive list of what other categories we look at that school naming, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Trustee Kolosowski, yes, we have a number of names that often come forward, community names, often names of developments, new communities that have emerged. Those are the kinds of things that also are considered in the school naming process. I'll think of one right now, Blue Willow Public School, just because they have an upcoming anniversary, is an example of a school community named after the community. So those are the kinds of things that go into those considerations as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Trustee McCarthy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick comment and a quick question. Thank you to Associate Director Listi and team for providing the detailed feedback. I appreciate, as Chair Mahmood said, I appreciate hearing the feedback from the community and what we've done to comply with that feedback. So the question is regarding the motion, and there's no date. So it's asking for something to be done to the motion, and if approved, it's asking to be brought back. But I'm curious if we should put a date on that for the next date, or else it's pretty open-ended and could come back in 6 months or a year, or is there something that constricts it to coming back next month? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting question because we haven't had many of the policies coming and being returned back at this stage. So this is, I think, I've seen it after a while. So I'll lean on to parliamentary, and if there is any need to be any time limit on this, or Mr. Chair, Mr. Director, if you wanted to weigh in on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In consideration of staff, I think for the next policy meeting, there are reports that are being drafted already, and I think that is a robust agenda. I'm seeing a policy officer nodding his head at this time, so I think we would be looking, great question, Madam Vice Chair, when we could put that on an upcoming agenda. Policy Officer Torres could probably share some thoughts in regard to that, but I believe the next policy agenda is a robust agenda, so we'd be looking towards the fall.
Thank you. Yeah, so with respect to the draft policy review schedule here, we would have to move potentially some policies around should trustees want to bring this back. But as the director mentioned, the June policy bylaw standing committee meeting is quite robust. So we would be aiming to bring this back for fall.
Thank you. Mr. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I understand the direction of the wish that trustees are looking to go towards here, and would probably like to conclude this in the term of office. And so we would take this into consideration and come back to you with a plan for it to come back to the policy, but perhaps not particular to the June meeting, just to be candid and forthright. And I think that would be fair to the policies that you have outlined in your agenda as well in your term of office. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Trustee Liang have a question.
Yeah, I support that the YRDSB school should not be named after the individual in the future. People's reputation and public opinion can change over time, which may create conflict and diversion in the community. Neutral school names are more inclusive, timeless, and avoid future controversy and costly renaming. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Liang. I just have one question of clarification, right? To Mr. Director, are we, from now till fall, is there any new school being named? And which means if yes, that means that will follow the current policy in place until this is approved, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The good news is there is no immediate need for school opening naming, as we're not opening a new school in the fall and working through that process right now. So this forwards the time as Trustee Cohen's motion, and would permit staff to take this back and look towards the fall, a fall policy meeting of the current term of trustees.
Thank you. Trustee McCarthy, you have a second question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I just wanted to follow up on the first question, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
I thank you. I just, I can appreciate that the agenda is quite full for June. I would just ask that the fall is, I think, is reasonable, just that we maybe name a month, either September or October for the review. I would appreciate just the clarity on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Director, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam Vice Chair, we will take that into consideration. I just don't have the policies. I will share, the policy could be a very robust, busy meeting, as we have a bill in the legislature right now that we may need to accelerate some policies for trustees' consideration. And so understanding, I'll be candid, Bill 101 that's before the legislature right now, working its way through third reading, may require us to bring some policy updates to trustees. And so to be honest, Trustee McCarthy, I just don't want to back us into a corner if we're going to need particular time on the agenda in regards to those revisions. But just committing to you that we will come to you in this term of trustees to bring this back. That would be the best advice and the ask of staff.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Director. I really appreciate that. I can appreciate that, those reasons. Thank you very much. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments from the trustees? None? So the question is on the adoption of the motion by Trustee Cohen that the committee requests changes to be made regarding not naming schools after people and schedule the policy for ongoing second review. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Yes.
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 No.
On the phone?
Pamela McCarthy, yes.
Thank you. So, yes, have it. The motion is adopted. The committee requests changes be made regarding not naming schools after people and schedule the policy for ongoing second review. Okay. So the next item of business is the new number 9. It is moved that the staff provide an information report to the committee on or before October 1st, 2026, outlining any board policies that may require amendment in light of changes to Section 170.02 of the Education Act introduced through Bill 33. Is there any debate on this information item? None? The question is on the adoption of the motion that staff provide an information report to the committee on or before October 1st, outlining any board policies that may require amendment in light of changes to Section 170.0.2 of the Education Act introduced through Bill 33. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Trustee Liang?
So yes.
Yes.
Trustee
It's
Sinclair?
a no for me.
No. Trustee McCarthy?
Trustee McCarthy, yes.
Thank you. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Staff shall provide an information report to the committee on or before October 1st, 2026, outlining any board policies that may require amendment in light of the changes to Section 170.02 of the Education Act introduced through Bill 33. Thank you. All right. Moving along with the next agenda item. So before the committee is the draft policy review for schedule for 2026. The chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Alden Torres to present an overview of the updates made to the policy schedule, and then answer any questions trustees may have. Alden, please.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to take any questions from trustees regarding the review schedule.
Any trustees have any question on the proposed schedule? As we always say, this is subject to change, but this is as good as now. So any questions? We are seeing that in June, on June 16th, the next committee meeting, we have 4 policies coming to us for review, and then following that in September, another 4 coming scheduled. And then we may have, as Mr. Director alluded, that many changes to impact of the Bill 101, which is being considered at the moment. So I would say that this schedule is as good as of now, and we may have changes in it. Thank you. The date of the next meeting, the next policy and bylaw standing committee meeting is on June 16, 2026. As there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 5:32. Thank you, everyone.